Hello and welcome to a bit of a special video. In this video I'm going to be talking about players that have looked promising fantasy-wise so far for each team. I'm going to be looking at a defender, midfielder, and attacker for each team, as well as the overall keeper that I think might benefit you at the end of it, because it would be pretty easy to just say the starting keeper for each team. So thinking of these players, I'm not necessarily going with the best player on their team. This is speaking strictly fantasy-wise, so who I think is going to get you fantasy points. So some players might be extremely important to their team, but as far as fantasy goes, there might be better options. So just keep in mind, thinking, how the heck could I not pick that player? Well, he's a great player, but might not be good fantasy-wise. So that's just something to keep in mind. Also, I posted on my Instagram, and it's now the picture of my Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. It's kind of a cool logo that I've made for my team, so check that out. And yeah, start following or subscribing. That'd be great. I'd love to see a bit of a following coming through. I know CPL doesn't have as big an audience as some of the other leagues, but maybe that's a way to build it as well. So I'm going to go through the teams in order that they are in the table right now. So we're going to start off with Cavalry. The defender I've picked for Cavalry is Farsi. Some would easily argue Mavilla, and I wouldn't say that you're wrong if you say that. He's the leading point getter in fantasy right now. The reason I picked Farsi is because not only has he been great so far, but he's valued at 25k. You do need the 25k players in your team if you're going to make the budget. And having a player that produces as good as Farsi is huge for that. When you have playing 25k players, that instantly makes the value of your team go up rather than just placeholders that don't play. He also plays higher up than a defender, so more of a chance to get attacking returns, not just clean sheets. And he's pretty consistent. The first game, drew a penalty, which ends up counting as an assist, and assisted in another one. He's been starting a lot of games. And even when he doesn't start, he's looking threatening up top, so that's why I'm picking Farsi. For the midfielder, I'm picking Pasquati. Been a little disappointing as far as returns so far, but he plays higher up than a midfielder does. He joins the attack, and he's had the potential for so many goals and assists from what I've seen, and it's just missed shots just by a hair when he should be scoring, or other players on his team are doing that after he's given them a good ball in a promising situation. So that's what I'm picking Pasquati for, is there's a lot of chances for points. It's just been unfortunate to not happen yet, but I'm sure that breakthrough will happen. And the attacker is going to be Golden Boot leader with 3 goals right now, Brown. I believe he's on penalties now, especially because I bet Wheeldon's going to want to have his the Golden Boot winner on his team. I think that looks good on a team, and you even see in other leagues, even though teams, for instance, have clinched, they'll keep playing that player to try to get them that Golden Boot, because that's important to the player and sometimes the coach as well. So I think he's going to be on penalties right now. Mavilla did take the first penalty for the team, so that might be something to watch out for, because Brown had already scored in that game. Maybe that's why he got the second penalty. But anyway, that's who I'm going to pick. And he's also a good captain option. If he's scoring 1 or 2 goals per game, that's a safe pick for probably double-digit points every week if that's going to be a captain choice. But those are my cavalry picks. Moving on to Forge. For my defender, I'm picking Crutzen. At the start of the season, before it started, I would have easily said Tissot, knowing he was going to be playing higher up the field on a good Forge team. But he didn't end up getting the minutes, so that's definitely changing to Crutzen now. He's younger. He does get a little forward right now. Last time we saw him take a free kick that just went off the post. And he's played every minute so far on a strong Forge defensive team. Honestly, Forge actually has been a little disappointing defensively with the players they have, like Edgar, a good keeper, and Henry, and they still have been letting in at least a goal for most games, aside from one against Edmonton. But I do think Crutzen has definitely gained my respect from last year. I didn't think he was as good last year, but I do like him now, and my team happy with him starting every week. But he is not my fantasy team yet. I'm just, because Forge is the team that I support, that's why I called them my team. They're not my fantasy team. Moving forward to the midfield, I always seemed promising fantasy-wise beforehand, and I was kind of a non-believer in that compared to some of the other midfielders that they have, but he has proved to be a great midfielder. Drew a penalty, maybe an undeserved penalty, but a penalty nonetheless against Halifax when Beaulieu crashed into him, and as well he's gotten other assists and scored a beautiful goal. So he has attacking returns all over the place, an assist machine, getting lots of minutes. I think he's almost played all of the minutes too. I don't know if he got subbed out one game, but he's definitely started all the games. So a great option in the midfield there. And the attacker is hard to pick in this one because Novak and Babuli have kind of been splitting time, but then you also have Balbanotti that's started last game, which I definitely wouldn't pick as the main attacker for this, mind you. It's just hard to pick because you never know who's going to start these games. Bobby Smiriotis is annoying like that. But whenever Bully comes on, whether he starts or comes on as a sub, he's always creative. I find the attack kind of ramps up when he's on the field, and I do project that come towards the end of the start to the season, the 7 games, as well as moving forward to the other rounds, because it looks like both Forge and Cavalry are almost locks for that. I think he's going to identify himself as the main striker in the team, or at least I hope so, because I think playing consistently with players is huge. That might make the difference between Cavalry and Forge, the consistency of the starting 11, because you don't want to be playing with different people every week. It's like playing on a new team every week, it seems sometimes with Forge. But so Babuli is going to be my pick for this. Not only I think has it shown so far, but also his past experience is better than Novak's. Nothing against Novak. I think he's done great and seems to do his job every time he comes in. I just think Babuli is the next step up as far as quality in the CPL concerns. Who would have thought that Valor would be the third team that I'd be talking about if this is based on where teams are on the table? But they are, and their defense is looking strong with Jean-Baptiste, who I am picking for the top defender on Valor. Baptiste was a big signing for the CPL, not just Valor, coming from Liga before this. So I want to say that's the only player from, I guess, considered top 5 league in Europe that has come over. He plays every game, and Valor is very defensive focused. As we saw last year, they were not good at offense or defense. But this year, Rob Gale is proving that they're starting by working on this defense, and then we'll get to the attack later on. But they've kept 2 clean sheets the last 2 games, so that's good for a defender such as Jean-Baptiste. And yeah, like there's not much to complain. He even scored a header on a corner, so there's potential for attacking returns as well. So as far as their midfield and attack, some of these spots on some of these teams I wouldn't really ever touch, but for the completion sake of the video being consistent, I've added them in. For Valor, I would only ever take a defender, maybe a keeper, probably. But as far as the midfield and attack, for midfield, I'd pick Aird. I've seen him getting a little higher up towards the goal. He's been playing a lot, so probably guaranteed at least 2 points for playing 60 minutes. And that's why I have him slotted in there, as well as Hundal during their 4-0 win. He got 2 assists, so we know that he can get attacking returns. Whereas during that game, they had 4 different goal scorers, so it's hard to say for sure who's going to be their prolific striker, but he's the one that got 2 attacking returns, so that's why I've slot Hundal in there for the top attacker. Also, sorry, one thing I probably should have said at the start, keep in mind, I'm picking these based on not necessarily where the player's actually playing in their lineup, but what fantasy has them listed as. So whether you want to consider, for instance, someone like Farsi, a midfielder, or a defender, he's listed as a defender in fantasy, so that's why I have him there. Just going forward, sorry, I should have said that at the start. But yes, that's my Valor expertise, I guess. Not much. I would never take a midfielder or attacker, I don't think, but I think you're looking good if you pick one of their defenders right now, the way things have been going. Going forward to York 9, the team that has been frustrating me the most so far. One player that has not been frustrating me is Thompson. I think Thompson has been a great pick for me. I've had him from the start. And part of what's so good is he's playing every game. It's not only playing starting every game, and he's a 25k player, another one that's good to have in your squad to make room for to make money going forward, which is where you want to be spending most of your money. If you can find cheap defenders that will get you 4 points for a clean sheet, normally 6 if they're playing the whole 60 minutes, or at least 60 minutes, sorry. But he's been good. York 9 has not been good at attack, which they're expecting to be, but they have kept a clean sheet or two, I think just one clean sheet. And so that's why I have him as the defender. The other defenders like Gasparotto are 75k. That's a lot of money to have invested in York 9 right now, and I would not want to do that. For the midfielder in attack, I think they've been, or at least their main players have been disappointing. Aparicio has not really shown much. Telfer hasn't shown much, and Petrasso's injured again. So their big hitters probably aren't good options right now. In fact, for midfielder, I'm picking Rivero. He's shown that he is a deadly attacker. He's playing higher up, I'd say, than a midfielder right now, and at least has shown that he has some scoring potential. So that's why I have him in there, as well as Wright. Again, another player that has shown that he can score. If Telfer keeps doing badly, he just might take the spot right from Telfer, which sounds a little crazy with Telfer's experience. But he's shown that he can do more so far, and he's a 25k player, I believe. So to have a good score at 25k would be huge as well for your team. But as far as York 9 right now, I think they have really not met the expectations. I think they're going to be out soon, so I don't know if you want to have them closer to your to the end of the season, because you might have to get rid of them if there's no wild card. So that might be a detriment to have an attacker from York 9 right now. But those are going to be my picks for midfield and attack as far as York 9 right now. I'm working on getting the ones that I have out of my team, if you haven't already seen that from other posts or videos that I've done. All right, moving on to Halifax. Halifax is a team that I don't know that much about, but they have shown that they can play with the big teams, having just faced Forge and Cavalry, ripping some points off of Forge in their tie, and playing a good game against Cavalry. For the defender, I'm picking Ensa. I just know you could probably not do too wrong with any of the Halifax defenders right now. Actually, no, he's been a good option for them, helping them meet their U21 Canadian minutes. He's played over what they need to, and it's a very defense-focused team, so why not? Now that they're facing weaker teams than the top two, they might actually be able to keep their clean sheets and not let in those 1 or 2 goals and get you some points defense-wise. Midfielders, I don't know much about Halifax midfielders. Rampersand is a name I hear a lot during a game, so I know he's around the ball a lot and getting lots of minutes, and if you're around the ball, you might get that last pass for the assist, or maybe he's going to create something and score himself. But again, I don't know much about the Halifax midfield. That's just my 2 cents there. Who I do know, and I think a lot of people have started hearing about, is their attacker Garcia, who's on penalties, and while Halifax is great at defense, they also have a pretty wicked counterattack, as we saw against Forge. And Garcia seems to be a clinical finisher. So if you're going for the attack, I'd say go for him. There are actually a couple decent options. Like you have the value option of Morelli, who has been playing pretty good, but I don't think he's as consistent as a starter as Garcia is. And Garcia just seems to be their out-and-out clinical finisher. So that's who I'm going with for Halifax. Going down to Pacific, they've, I guess, struggled a bit, but I still think they have a chance to make it to the next round. They do have some good players. I try not to just pick what's on my team or what I'm thinking of or who's leading in points right now. So sorry if it seems like that sometimes, just based on, I think McNaughton is the top fantasy defender so far. So that worked out this time, but McNaughton's been getting lots of minutes, and as we saw, this is mostly based off of the York 9 game. He seems to get forward on set pieces. He headed in the goal against York 9. He seems to have a lot of power, and Pacific's already faced Forge. I think they still have to face Cavalry, but I see them getting some clean sheets coming up soon. I believe they face Valor today, so they might score. It could be another 0-0 draw with Valor playing very defensively, but I think that Pacific has the chance for a clean sheet today. And so that's what I have to say about the Pacific defense. As far as the midfield, I bet this could either go either way between Blasco or Zack Verhoeven. They seem to switch out games a lot, but Blasco seems to be a set piece taker, especially on corners. I don't know if he's taking so much free kicks, but whenever you have a player that's taking set pieces, if they're corners, there's a lot of assist potential, especially when you have a good aerial threat on your team like McNaughton. And if you're taking free kicks, you even have goal potential, but I'm not sure he's doing that. But he does seem to be playing high up the field and putting himself in position to get assists and goals. So that's who I'm picking for the midfield. If you pick Zack Verhoeven, I don't think that's a bad call at either. He's also shown that he can produce up front as well. And for the Pacific Attack, I'm picking Bustos. For me, that was an easy choice. He plays beside another good striker, Campbell, but I'm not picking Campbell as the go-to because he hasn't shown me much at all so far in their 3 games. Bustos has shown that he's getting to the net, showing that he's getting chances, and he has scored. And he's playing every single game, so that's why I'm going with him. Just one thing to be mindful of is he has got 2 yellow cards. The rule for the Canadian Premier League is if you get 4, you get suspended for a game. So normally attackers aren't getting these cards, so I have a feeling he will be mindful of his situation and maybe do a little less talking to the refs or and stuff like that, so then he doesn't end up getting that suspension. But just something to keep in mind going forward. It's something that's been talked about with the analysts too, so hopefully he doesn't do that, and I do have every intention of bringing Bustos into my squad on my next set of transfers. Going to Ottawa, this first one, the defender, is literally, again, just for completion's sake of doing one for each position for every team, and the only reason I'm picking Phillips, I know nothing about him, but he's the only 25k defender that they have. So if you need a placeholder, and it's going to be from Ottawa, that's the guy that you pick. I do not suggest getting any Atletico Ottawa defense. They just have been getting red cards, getting penalties against them, and they can't hold a lead to save their life. So I'm just stay away from Ottawa defense is my suggestion. But if you are going to do it, buy low. I don't think anyone would disagree with the midfielder choice of Acuna, though. Great player coming from the Mexican League, which is a very good league. He's proven that he can score with the 2 goals that he scored against Edmonton early on in the game, their last game, and he can create chances. And he's a leader. I think a lot of players on that team look to Acuna for guidance, and they know that he's one of the players that if they give him the ball, they might be able to get it back. I guess Fisk could have also been argued for this spot, but I think Acuna's a standout for the midfielder choice of Atletico Ottawa. And then for the attacker, I think that's another obvious one. Shaw, he's like their only striker. He's going to start every game probably. He did score, I think he scored a goal already. Maybe not. Actually, I don't know. But I know he's at least gotten some kind of attacking returns. And so he is probably the best option if you want a striker in that's likely going to start every game. The only thing is whether Ottawa's going to be producing after their first game. I might have thought, they might not be that bad of a team for their first year. But going forward, seeing the consistent mistakes that are being made within the club, they're going to be my team to pick on. Originally it was Valor, but now it's going to be Ottawa and probably Edmonton. Which brings us to our next team, FC Edmonton. Defense, they haven't been great on defense so far. They did have a hard start to the schedule with Forge and Cavalry, so no one's really expecting them to keep clean sheets there, but letting in 2 early goals against Ottawa, just, again, another team where I don't really want to take defense and bank on clean sheets with. I picked Timguia. He seems to be getting a lot of minutes, and part of why you might argue to get Edmonton is because they have already played those big teams. So maybe playing smaller teams, they're going to have a chance to get some clean sheets, but after not showing they can do it against Ottawa as well, I'm a little iffy on trying to do that. I don't know much about the FC Edmonton Midfield, Ailman kind of looked good last game, was getting higher up, creating some chances, scored goals, so that was my choice there. I don't really have much to go on as far as Edmonton knowledge to pick someone else otherwise. I'm hoping by the end of this, maybe some people will leave some comments and stuff and give me maybe some ideas, or other people some other ideas maybe that know more about teams like Halifax, Ottawa, or Edmonton, to give some more clarity on what they should be doing. And for an attacker, I'm going with Ungaro, who has kind of been disappointing so far. Again, hard to score against teams like Cavalry and Forge, but even the goal against Ottawa is kind of laughable. Like, it's a ball going already in basically, and he steals the goal. The ball's already like halfway over the line. But the potential is there. He's opened his account. The monkey's on off the back. Maybe he will start producing at the rate that he's expected to now, and he's like their go-to striker and 50k. So not 25k, but not 75k, which is where a lot of the top strikers are listed at. So he's decent value for top striker on the team. And that goes through all of the teams, a defender, a midfielder, and attacker. But we're going to go with what keeper is probably looking to do the best right now. And I'm going to go with James Pantemis of Valor, which at the start of the season I would not have said. But they have proven to be great on defense. 2 clean sheets kept. They're a team that has something to prove right now. They've already played Cavalry, and they play Forge in Forge's final game, where they're probably going to Forge is probably going to have clinched already. They're going to be having to play players that they wouldn't normally play to make up. They still have 247 minutes of U21 Canadians to play, so they might have to get in their backup goalie or play Chella and Monson for that game, so they probably won't have the full lineup that they want, and they might be resting starters. Opportunity for clean sheet there. They've got back-to-back clean sheets, and they have Baptiste and Dunn in front of them, 2 very strong defenders that are helping them get these clean sheets right now. So that's my pick. One reason I don't think Henry is going to get the pick is because he might be out for the backup keeper to get those U21 minutes. Carducci is 75k. I do not want to be spending that kind of money on a keeper, so that's why I'm not saying him. And so other than that, I think Valor's showing the best opportunity for clean sheets, and that's what you're looking for as far as keepers go. Another thing that keepers get is save points, and Valor is a team that'll let a lot of shots go through, probably not high quality shots, but as long as that ball's hitting the net, that's more points for their keeper. So there's my reasons for James Pantemis being the go-to keeper. So that brings an end to this video. Let me know if there's other kind of videos that you want. I'm kind of just having fun with this. I see what other kind of people that do fantasy for other leagues do. This seemed like a fun little idea. But yeah, let me know if you agree or disagree with the players. And if you have other suggestions, then feel free to let your voices be heard. So again, if you can subscribe, that would be great. I'd like to try to get a bit of a following on here. You can also follow the Instagram page CanPL_Forged and Fire, and I share that stuff on Twitter too, which has been posted by CanPL Fantasy as well, so you can find that on their page. But yeah, thanks for watching this if you've lasted this long, and I hope you enjoyed it.